Is a tour a key component of a marketing plan?
Yes. Live performance specific, and again, I'm talking, I've worked the last 20 years in jazz and smooth jazz, so although I do have other areas, that's kind of my specialty. The live performance has a significant effect on sales. So if you're an artist or a band and you are just going to sit in your garage and make music and send it out and never plan to get in front of people, I don't hold much hope for you.
So touring is essential.
I think touring is essential.
Now, do you try to schedule your marketing plan to be implemented at the same time the tour starts?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You'll find that most of the major artists. I mean, everybody has a certain time frame in the calendar year where they want to try to put out a record, but you'll find that most of the major ones are going to come out in January, February, so that they can tour April, May, June, July through the summer months.
Have you seen any kind of marketing plan or aspects of a marketing plan that was so unique and different that they just drew your attention? You said, wow, what a great idea. Anything like that happened to you recently?
Give me a minute to think on that. I think the last time that I saw something that was really significant in terms of the whole way that they approached the record from, of course, they had almost 20 years to plan it, but it was Steely Dan's Two Against Nature. They hadn't had a record out in 20 years, and they had gone back into the studio to record, and Warner Brothers really pulled out all the stops to cover all the bases. And when you start talking about wanting to have the cover of Rolling Stone and Spin and all these different magazines, you're talking about magazines sometimes that have a year lead time. So you have to start your plan way ahead of time. And I think the most extensive plan that I saw was on that particular record.
So your marketing plans, when you develop it, it is before the release, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they can't come to you after a record has been released, because after a few months it's a dead issue, right?
Well, yeah, it does have that flop stink after about 12 weeks. If you come out with a record and nothing's happening in 12 weeks, it's basically over.
Yeah. So how far in advance are you planning your marketing plan from the release of the record?
Well, I just am working on this Paul Brown marketing concept right now, and his record is due to drop March 28th of '07. So what is that, it's about 6 months ahead?
Do you always market the artist or the music?
When I was at Warner Brothers, we had a mission to establish a brand of Warner Jazz, as well as the artist in their own right. Who did it best was GRP. And I was with GRP before I went to Warner Brothers, and they had even instituted at retail a June is GRP month, where every year major retailers all across the country had big displays of all the GRP artists, and we created special samplers for the stores and those types of things. GRP has a brand to it, and people who like smooth jazz, like if I say GRP, people resonate to it, and they know Dave Grusin and Larry Rosen. That I think, when I went to Warner Brothers, the gentleman that I went to work for there, Ricky Schultz, and then later Matt Pearson, they both wanted to have that same kind of cachet that GRP had, and they wanted to separate it out from being Warner Brothers to being Warner Brothers Jazz.
Interesting, because Warner Brothers was already such a big name.
Right.
But a few labels have definitely created brands for themselves.
Windham Hill.
Yeah, CTI, certainly GRP. But the major companies never did that. You didn't buy a record because it was on BMG or Sony or Columbia or anything like that. And they did. I don't think they tried to do that. So they were selling artists.
Right.
Then you get the idea of branding the label, and really it's the label. I bought everything on CTI. I didn't care what it was. But what about
Some
that
great
now?
records, huh?
But now it's really artist driven, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it is, and it's a very especially on the pop side of things, it's immediate gratification, that quick fix. You got to have that hit. You got to, on the A&R side of things, my son is in a band, and they've been submitting demos to different labels, and the A&R people used to be, oh yeah, I think that's a hit. Now it's like they want to hear 4 hits before they're going to invest their money in you. They want to hear 4 strong radio tunes before they're going to be willing to invest that $250,000. in you.
But you got to keep that record alive, right? So if you can keep releasing singles for the radio over a period of 6 months, then you've got a longer life.
Right.
Well, can you point to any example recently where your marketing plan has been just, it worked like a charm? It's just like, well, that fit like a glove. It definitely did the job. Does this happen to you every day, or is this?
No, I wish it did happen every day.
What does it take to do that? How does that work? Is that just luck? I mean, you set it up and you've thought it through, and you know where the market is, and you've got to go get that market, right? It's driving people to the product. That's what you're doing. So, you mean, you figured it out. Then you just start it in motion and,
And
good
try
luck.
to push it on through. Well, again, the hardest part is getting that open window, and then once you have that open window, you have to figure out all the ways to capitalize on it. It's not just enough to get the ad. You have to go back and try to grow that into more spins, into opportunities for the artist to come into the market. You have to continue that. I mean, back with the concept of a marketing plan that worked like a charm, one of the more successful artist with Warner Jazz was Boney James, and one of the best collaborative efforts was the Boney James-Rick Braun record, and their whole rollout as two kind of titans coming together worked very well for us in terms of being able to, you had two artists who could both sell tickets at shows, and you put them together. And then, I don't know, right after that we started having the guitars and saxes tours where people, instead of just sending a solo artist out, it's not enough just to go see Gerald Albright. You've got to see Gerald Albright with Norman Brown and Will Downing now, because people are wanting more for their money.